We're on our way to the Waimea Fishing Park, just travelling over the Appleby Bridge. Not too far to go, it's only 5 minutes out of Richmond, probably 10 to 20 minutes out of Nelson Central. The road you're going to turn into is River Road on your left here. Alright, it's not a hard one to find, and just follow it along the Waimea river itself. What do you reckon, dog? All good? So make sure you don't miss the turn off. Just to the left here, I guess the easiest way to identify where it is a give way sign or a stop sign just before it. Reverse. Right. So there on our left we have the Waimea River. Beautiful condition. So here we are at the Waimea Fishing Park. 3 ponds formed back in 2012 for the sole purpose of educating kids to fish, generally inexperienced kids that haven't done a lot of fishing before, and do it in an environment which friendly. They can see the fish that they want to catch, and safe as well, with surroundings with barbecue tables, pontoons here for wheelchair access, everything you need for a family to have a good morning or day's fishing if they require it. So when you enter the entrance of the Waimea Fishing Ponds, you'll see the rules and regulations sign. Have a quick read of this. There's a few important things you need to know. Age limits of the anglers have to be over 5 and under 17. Certainly no more than 1 fish caught on the day, and there's fishing restrictions in regard to what you can use for bait and lures. No bait, no burley, and all fish attractants strictly prohibited. So have a quick look at the sign, and then you'll have no excuses for getting into trouble if fish and game turn up and start asking questions. So what we've got here is the sponsors board. These ponds didn't form themselves. There was a lot of businesses that were involved in getting this together in 2011, and here they are. So make sure you support them, because they certainly support the ponds here, and will continue to. So when you come to the Waimea Fishing Park, there's just a few essential items I suggest you sort of bring with you, just to make things a little bit easier for your fishing experience. Good footwear. Alright, they don't have to be tramping boots, but even hard shoes will make it easier where you're walking on bouldered ground. It's pretty loose bouldered ground, so I suggest some fairly good footwear will make it easier to walk around the tracks here. Sunscreen, definitely lather yourself in some sunscreen. It can be pretty hot out here for a couple of hours fishing. You'll burn faster than you realise. Just remember, if you're putting on sunscreen, wash your hands before you start putting your bait on your hooks or you're touching your lures. Sunscreen can be quite an off-putting scent for a lot of the trout and salmon here, so just make sure you get it off your hands before you start fishing. A good pair of sunglasses, or sunglasses for the kids, will make it easier for the kids to see the fish if they want to sight the fish, because there can be a glare on the water and can be very hard to see the fish even though the ponds are clear. These are Polaroid glasses. Very, very good at taking the glare cut off the surface and seeing the fish very, very easily. but also for safety reasons for the kids. It'll make sure they don't get any hooks in their eyes when they're casting, and could be quite important. Now, if you do manage to catch a fish, and we all hope that you do, chili bin and ice pack. There's no use catching your fish in the middle of a hot day and letting it basically go off or go bad because of the heat. Look after your fish, get yourself a little chili bin, ice pack, put your fish straight into the chili bin, look after it, and it'll taste great by the time you get home. And prepare it for that night's dinner. Landing net. Life will be a lot easier if you've got a landing net when you catch your fish. Otherwise, there's a high probability that you've really got to drag your fish up with your trace to the edge of the water, and that could be quite awkward. So a landing net will make it a lot easier for you. Make sure you got the appropriate license depending on your kid's age. The license is available through Fish and Game online, so there's no excuse really not to follow the regulations as needed. And obviously your terminal tackle, make sure you've got that sorted. Throughout the video I'll show you some ideal rigs to use in the ponds here that will give you a better catch rate, hopefully make it a bit easier for you and take the guesswork out of rigging up. Let's go and have a look. Pond here is what I call number one. It's probably one of the hardest ones to fish because it's so shallow and very clear. It has a couple of holes that you can fish into, one here and one at the northern end. Just have a look at where the fish are feeding, and generally they'll be hovering around these holes so they feel the most comfortable. But I wouldn't fish here any more than sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes. The fish will become very wary and just move on to another area of the pond. It's probably one of the ones that we fish the least because it's the hardest. It's the hardest. So worth a try though. So here we are. This is pond number 2. It's a good one to start with. It's got a very deep hole on the southern end here, and usually stocked with fairly good numbers of fish, which can be quite active at times. There's a few fish in here now, which I'm just bringing up onto the feed. Rainbow trout. What you'll find with this pond number 2 is, as we go work further north, it's quite shallow in the middle, and at the end there's another hole. So we've probably got about 8 to 10 fish here. So this is the top of pond 2, a good area to fish after you've been down the southern end. Try down there first. One of the dogs swimming here, we've got a school of fish, and there's another in front of the platform there. There's another big hole there. We'll have some fish swimming there. So areas that the fish feel fairly comfortable. Gulls. Make sure you're seeing good amounts of fish before you start fishing. And here's a good place, it's nice and deep, so either with a bobble float or with a sinking rig, ideal. Try not to use lures in these ponds 1 and 2 because they are fairly narrow, and all you'll do is upset the fish pretty quickly and ruin it for everyone else. So lures only in the top pond, which we'll go to next, and have a look. So here we have the 2 platforms of pond 3. Alright, this is the southern end of pond 3, which is the largest of the ponds that we have here. Can be very productive, stocked with good amounts of fish. You've just got to find them. We look off the platform here, straight down into the water there. We've got probably a dozen fish working one of the holes just in the bottom here. Alright, as soon as they sight me, they move off. So they're a wee bit wary, but worth the cast anyway, just to see whether they're going to take a bait, or you are allowed to lure fish in pond 3 here. So try your platforms; they're ready made for easy fishing. And this is the northern platform of pond 2, and there's a big hole just in here. And currently it's probably got about half a dozen fish working the area. Can be a little bit hard, but worth a try. So as we walk around pond 3, you'll walk down the right hand side till you get to one of the remaining guide wires that's still here on a corner, and fairly deep off this corner. If you have a look at the way it's structured, a bit of a U comes in, fairly shallow, and fairly deep areas in front of us. Seems to always carry some good fish here. Mainly, I'm not too sure, fairly deep, and maybe the temperatures is exactly what the fish require. Other spots you'll see when I give a tackle demonstration, and it's called no fail corner, alright, because it hardly ever fails. So definitely worth a try. We'll just continue working our way up the large pond here. So now we're about just over halfway of the large pond on the right hand side, and there's what we call quite a deep canyon that runs about 20-30 meters up to the buoy that you see up there. Very deep area, and it's an area that the fish seem to swim up and down on regularly. So with a flip with a rod, and oh, there's one jumping just there. So yeah, very active area. So give it a try. Sometimes in the centre there. Alright, there are some areas of shallow bank, but the fish are still feeding all over the place. So we're coming up to the northern platform of the big pond, and great place to spot your fish because you're up relatively high. It's one of the deepest parts of the pond here. I'm sighting probably 6 to 8 fish just off the top here, quite happily mooching around, and a good place to start if you've got a little northerly breeze over your shoulder. Kids, it's a good one to cast with because you've got the breeze helping you cast out. Alright, if you've seen my examples of how to fish without a float, alright, this is a great place to start because it's nice and deep, so you get all the time to sink your bait slowly through the water column and attract your fish. So definitely give this northern end a try, and especially when you've got a northerly breeze over your shoulder. So it's now the middle of November. We've got our first event for the kids coming up, and the ponds have just been stocked with about another 200 rainbow trout, around the 1.2 kilo mark. So the ponds are looking pretty healthy in regards to numbers, and good thing about rainbow trout is they do tend to spread themselves around the ponds, unlike the salmon that we find keep in fairly tight schools. So you'll find sort of pockets of fish around the place. Again, have a good look around. You'll see where they feel comfortable. So I'm on the left hand side of the large pond here, not as deep as the right hand side, but you'll find that some of the fish sort of work up and down the right and close to the edge here. Move quietly, you'll see them. You can either cast lures, failing that, bobble float, or a sinking rig. So just down here there's about 3 fish working this edge. Right, hard to see with this ripple on the water, but I can see them with Polaroid glasses. Now what I'm going to do is show you a couple of basic rigs that are worth trying at the ponds here. One's just a bobble float, really good for the kids to use, very easy, easy to cast, and can be quite successful if the fish are active. If they're not active, I'll show you another technique to use, which is a bit harder to use for the kids, but equally as successful. So what we're using here is just a bobble float rig. So your bobble float tied to your main trace down to about a metre and a half length of 10-pound line, 10-pound fluorocarbon line, little split shot sinker, and then little trout hook at the end. Alright, pretty basic rig, but for the kids this is about all you'll need to catch your trout. So what we're going to do first is fill this bobble float with a bit of water. To do that, these bobble floats have a couple of filling holes like that. You pull the toggles out, put it in the water, give it a shake, and that'll alleviate some of the air bubbles inside. Lift it up, should be about half full of water. That's about right. And that water will do a couple of things. It's going to help you cast, it'll give you a bit of weight. And if there's a bit of a breeze around, that'll be an advantage for you. If you didn't have that water in there, it'd be quite light, and you might find with a bit of a breeze that you're coming straight back at you again. So definitely fill them with water. Not all floats are fillable like this one here, so if you can get a fillable float like that, it'll certainly be an advantage. So next, so what we're using here is a purpose-made Jimmy's Bait trout pellet. You can use live worms, maggots, different varieties of different insects to catch your trout with. But and it pays to have a variety, because not every day. Some could be a little bit different. Sometimes they're fussy, sometimes they're not. So that's how it looks on the hook, presented. Hopefully just a mouthful full of trout. Basically replicates what they are reared on. When these trout come from a hatchery, they're actually fed a trout pellet for, well, several months before they fatten them up and release into the ponds here. And the trout pellet actually looks very similar to that there. Alright, so sight-wise these trout are going to see something very familiar to what they were fed on and go, yep, I'll have that. Until they've sort of worked out that there's a line attached to it, a sinker, and things get a wee bit interesting by the time they've worked out what's happening. So let's go. So I've worked out there's a few fish in this area here. I've used my Polaroid sunglasses. Alright, so I've been able to see the fish that are working in the area. Definite advantage if you can get some of these Polaroids. You'll be able to sight the fish so much easier, and they're not too expensive. So first cast into the middle there, So as that's dropping on that first cast, sometimes we get a bit of activity. Yep, straight away. So Trout's picked that up. He's walking away. You can see your bobble float going up and down. Yep. Now with these bobble floats, it pays to be a little bit careful with them. Alright, the trout will pick up the baits and walk away. Sometimes it just pays to give them a couple of minutes playing with it. You see your bobble float go under. Well, that one there's obviously having a good go. He's having a good go. That's it. So he took it really hard then. And so these fish probably haven't had a good feed for a while. They're relying on any natural food within the ponds, and so giving them something that looks like a pellet would be quite interesting for them. Well, there you go. There we go. So that didn't take us too long. We've got a little rainbow on, and he took that really hard. Didn't muck around. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to release this carefully and put him back. It's quite a nice rainbow, this one. Oh, it got off anyway, so that's okay. So every time you wind in after casting, make sure you get rid of any weed, right, that might be around. Trout have fantastic eyesight. You can't have anything on your line, they'll pick it up straight away. So that trout took that bait off. We'll put on another one. All right. So that current trace, as I said, is about 1.5 meters. Alright, so with the water in that float, it makes it really easy to cast out. No, Rosie, out of it. There we go, so strikes on it straight away. Alright, if you don't have any action in sort of 5 minutes, pull it in, recast it again. Alright, and generally you just repeat that over and over again. Or with the kids, sometimes they're quite happy just to see the float out in the middle there and just leave it. If you've got no wind bringing it in, just leave it out in the middle. If you're quite happy doing that and the kids are quite happy just watching it there, eventually you'll have some trout go past your line. Rosie, get out of it. Rosie dog, you're not helping my cause. So from the flurry of activity that we had in the first 5 minutes, the fish have now identified that what they're seeing there isn't a natural food source. And that's how quickly the fish can go off. Alright, so beware, you'll have to try different ideas, different techniques to get the fish as they become more wary of the situation. We'll go to another end of the pond and see if there's some fish we can fool with a bobble float, and we'll go to plan B. If not, we'll take the bobble float off and I'll show you a different technique. So we're at the other end of the pond here. We'll see if there's any fish in the middle there. Yep, straight away. So see what I mean by having a look at different areas of the pond? These fish haven't worked out what this is in natural food yet, and they're hammering it. down it goes. So they're hitting it hard. Yep. Yep, and again. So you can see that bobble float getting hit. But why the fish aren't being caught instantly is, oh no, Rosie, get out of it. Go on, get out of it. Get out of it. Is the trout are taking in the bait and then feeling the weight from the float. Alright, and they're letting go straight away. So that's one of the reasons. So it's just having another interest there at the moment. That's something that is a negative with using bobble floats, I guess, is there's resistance. There's a little bit of resistance there, and the fish can feel it. When they pull down the bait, they can feel that it's not quite what it should be. They want it, but they know there's something on the end of it. And down it goes again. So they're having a good look at it. You just want one to take it in, walk off with your float. It's obviously really good for the kids to see this happening, and that's basically why bobble floats are so exciting, because you can see that there's fish underneath having a go. So we'll throw that out a bit further into the middle again. Again, always check for weed again on your hook. Make sure it's clear and your bait's okay. If your bait's nice and clear, yep. Nice cast into the middle. Rosie. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hey? Can't catch trout with you. Showing the kids how to catch them. So again, these fish probably will take five minutes before they sort of realise that what I'm doing here isn't quite natural. There's a couple of things we can do. We can lighten the line. So we go from 10-pound line that we're using as a trace. We can take that down to 6-pound line. So it becomes even harder for the fish to see. Disadvantage of that is it's lighter. So if you hook a good fish, if you don't play the fish properly, you'll lose it because it'll be heavier. So there's more stress on your trace. So there are pros and cons to going to lighter line. Alright, so I've got a bit of weed there. Definite must to take all that off. So with your split shot sinker, that's helping me get this down to the right level at a certain rate. If I didn't have that split shot sinker on there, this would be quite light. It would take a long time for it to actually sink. So it sort of helps that, and also helps your cast, gives you a little bit of weight. So they're very handy to have on your line. Right. No. Stop your whinging. So we're at another end of the pond, and we've got a rainbow straight away on the bobble float. Again, I had to move to get to an area that I knew the fish hadn't been thrashed before with me throwing the bobble float, and it worked straight away. So try this I wouldn't stay in an area probably for longer than 15-20 minutes, half an hour. Alright, the fish will work you out pretty quickly. Rosie, out of it. There you go, girl. So that's one on the bobble float. Didn't take too long, but with a lot of other people using the ponds and a lot of other noise around, it can be quite hard. So it pays to get here early when the trout haven't been disturbed. So I'm going to show you a different technique. Now this particular one uses what they call a nymph. This is a weighted nymph. And what a nymph represents is insect larvae, and for wild trout this is something that they feed on regularly. Most trout, I think, have an inbuilt sensor to that these little guys identify as food. And what we're going to do is use this nymph without a float, split shot sinker, all right, to help us cast. And again, about a metre and a half trace, 10-pound fluorocarbon or 10-pound trace tied onto your main line. Yep. No swivel. So yeah, we need to learn how to tie that connecting knot there. Trace on down to your nymph. What my company produces for these little nymphs is a nymph bait. So this is just going to enhance your chances of catching your trout. So it's a 3mm bait, which goes over the top of your nymph hook. Right, like that. So it's going to give you your nymph a scent and look, which the trout like. So we're going to try that without a float. We'll see how it goes. Rosie, no. No. So again, I sort of know that this is an area I was working in. There should be a school of rainbows within this pool here. If I cast that out, right, don't need to cast too far. The technique with this is to let it sink through the school. Alright, and give it, say, 5 seconds to hit the bottom. If it doesn't get picked up by a trout as it sinks to the bottom, we recast again. 90% of the fish I catch with this technique take it on the way down. They don't take it off the bottom. So you can give a little twitch again. No touches, recast. It can be a hard technique for the kids to get to grips with because it's so light. Right, so cast into the middle, don't pull in, watch that line, we're waiting for that to straighten. Alright, when that starts to straighten, we know we've got a fish with your hook in it. And the hook up rate with this is far higher than the bubble float because there's no resistance. Alright, there's nothing stopping that fish from walking away. No float. Again, weed problem. Always look look for your weed to come off your hook. These guys will pick it up straight away. So same situation, working area for sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if nothing's happening, move down to a spot you know there's fish. So we'll go over to this pond here. There we go. See that line walking away? And oh, he dropped it. That one had it in its mouth straight away. So we're using quite small hooks with these nymphs, so you don't always get a hook up straight away. Alright, so down it goes. Here we go again, and then you're in. So that's how simple that technique is. Alright, cast in, let it drop, give it sort of 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then strike if you see your line start to walk away. Alright, so we'll get this fish in and I'll show you again how easy this can be. Now these are really pond techniques or lake techniques. It's not something that you'd use in a river. Oh, let's go and get our net. So this is mid-October. We've got new events for the kids that start in second week in November, and we'll have new fish coming in, but these guys here have been old stock, will more than likely still be caught. Rosie, hop out of there, will you? No. This is a beautiful jack. Wait, no. Beautiful jack. Leave it, leave it. So the nymph is just in the corner of the mouth there. We hand them gently. We should be able to just straight at it. Put the jack back. Beautiful fish. There he goes. Full of life. Don't advise you bring your dog. In fact, you may not be coming next time. So that was on the nymph floating, non-floating rig. Alright, no float attached, just straight sinking rig. Very effective. Again, if things get tough even with that rig there, you'll have to put lighter line on. And maybe even a smaller hook, smaller nymph. So we'll go back over here on this side, give it a couple of casts, and then we'll take it for another end of the different pond. We'll go to the large pond which hasn't been used yet. So flick that into the middle. And we'll watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, it's now hard on the bottom. Alright, give it a little tweak. Generally I give a couple of tweaks just as I'm about to pull it in. Just see whether the fish are near the bottom, having a look. And then wind it in, repeat it again. Alright, it's now hard on the bottom again. A couple of tweaks. Couple of tweaks. Wind in. Always remove your weed. So the bait's okay. Alright. We'll go to a different end of the pond. So this is a part of the pond I like to call Sure Thing Corner. Sure Thing Corner because it hardly ever lets the guides down when you're trying to teach a kid to catch a trout. Again, it's about knowing where the trout feel comfortable, and this is one part where they do feel comfortable. So we'll use this no float rig again. Alright, so I can cast that a good sort of 20 metres, which is about all I need to. Let's see where the Sure Thing Corner is, lives up to its name. Oh, there you go. So definitely a sure thing that Rainbow picked it just off the bottom as I gave that a little tweak. Alright, so he must have been following it. Alright, it's a fairly feisty one, this one. You might see him jump. Yep, it's a nice size one. So this is the second one, fairly easily caught on that no float rig. But the kids will just need a bit of practice. It's a lovely fish. Remember to use your drag on your reel. You don't want to do that up tight like that, alright, because then the fish can't run at all. Which means there's more pressure on your line, your trace, and your hook. Alright, high probability he's going to bust off. So you need to set this so it still pulls like this, alright, but there's enough tension that you can still put in a little bit of line. Alright, this is a fair size rainbow, this one. Alright, so don't be afraid to take a bit of time, just get the kids just being patient. I know it's hard. Alright, they want to lock it up and reel it in as quick as they can, but that's not the thing to do, right? Take your time. These fish have lots of energy, and you've got to get rid of that energy first. Rosy dog. This is a beautiful condition rainbow, this one. So not as big as I thought, but in very, very good condition. So I played this one for sort of 5 to 8 minutes. I know that we've exerted a bit of energy from him. Alright, so I can just pull him in slowly. No, Rosie, out of it. Get out of it. Go on. Get out of it. Beautiful condition. Rainbow, this one. Just in the corner of the mouth. So that's the second one on the nymph. I'll show one more technique. It's just a we're going to take off the nymph still staying with the sinking rig, and we're going to put on just a bare hook and a bait over the top of the bare hook. So to put this hook on, we're replacing the nymph with just a bare trout hook. This is a number 10. And we're going to use a simple uni knot, which there are many different examples online. A loop and 4 twists. Let's do 5 twists just to make sure. Pull it tight, down on the hook. Alright, make sure your tag ends, your end isn't too big. Alright, so now we've got a hook instead of a nymph to cast out, and all we're going to do is put one of the Jimmy's trout and salmon pellets straight in the middle there, roll it around. Alright, so we've got a nice bit of the point and the barb showing. So no float again. So casting's really important, and for the kids that are good at casting, you'll manage it. For those who aren't that great at casting, this could be a hard technique to master, but well worth trying. Right, it's in the middle there. Alright, I sort of know there's fish. Well, I got that last one. We cast out, just enough weight. It's about 20 meters, and straight on. Alright, so the fish are holding here, and they've picked that up with no weight at all. There's no hesitation. So that's how easy that technique is as well. And this is another lovely rainbow. Alright, again, set your drag properly, not too much weight. Make sure you've always got a good bend in your rod. Alright, and no slack line. I don't want to see any line like that. Alright, if your fish is going to get off, it's when you've got line very slack. So I know there's, as kids, there's quite a lot of information to take in, but the more that you do it, the more you'll realise it's a bit like brushing your teeth, I guess. Here we go, lovely little rainbow. Oh, straight away, out of the net. There she goes. These fish are pretty healthy. They've been in here all year, feeding on different fish and like bullies and tadpoles around the pond edges. So we'll do that once more, and then we'll go back to work. So, hook through, near barb showing. Alright, so hook there, split sinker, so that's helping you get out there. Alright, a little bit of weight. About 1.5 meter trace. and then tied directly to your main line. And this main line is what they call braid. Braid has no stretch, right? It's not mono, it's not like your trace, it's different. If you go into your tackle store and ask the specialist there, you'll go, I want a light braid set, all right, and they'll know what you're talking about. It's a big advantage. So we'll cast this in and I'll show you again how easy the technique works. No float, cast out, we're in the middle there, fairly deep out there, so the fish have fantastic eyesight, all right, they can see this from a mile away. They'll come in almost straight away. Rosie dog, you are causing all sorts of noise. So a little tweak, I didn't take it the first time that time. Alright, that little tweak just takes it off the bottom. Sometimes they take it. Another little tweak. This time. Now you pick that up. So I can see with that braid there's no stretch. So I can see it walking away when a fish is interested. That's the great thing about this braid. It's easy to see. Alright, another little tweak. So one more cast. Now if you see we're in the large pond here, there's a couple of orange buoys situated to the south and to the north end of the ponds. They hold cages underneath them, so just be wary that if you hook a fish around those red buoys, that you could have trouble, because that's what he's going to take you around to break you off. It's a big steel cage underneath. So this area here is the far north pontoon or platform. Another one of my favourite areas. It's very deep off the end of here and holds quite a few fish. You can see them clearly, and there's a few swimming around there. We'll see whether we can get something interesting on this pellet. Yep, straight away. So there goes my trace, there goes my braid. Alright, so it's walking away. There's a fish interested. And we're on. So the telltale sign is that that line starting to march off, alright? Braid doesn't lie. It's got no stretch in it. Rosie, out of it. So all I did was walk another 50 metres to a different end of the pond, found some fish that were active, bang, got them straight away. Be prepared to move around. And this is only a little juvenile 1 kilo, 1.2 kilo rainbow. In lovely condition though. There she goes. That finishes my little lesson. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about how to approach these ponds. It can be done just with a little practice, that's all. Try your float rig first. It's really good, kids, to watch that float go down and hook your fish using a bobble float. But if it doesn't work, take the bobble float off, try a no float rig. Alright, but you'll have to find your fish to do it. So good luck, and we'll see you out there. Come on, Rosie dog. What are you doing?